And we're going to take us back to, once again, those commemorations of October the 7th. And France 24 businesses, Sean Pellegrin has been looking at the economic impact left by the war between Israel and Hamas since October the 7th of last year, Sean.
The events of that day and of the year since have brought on an immeasurable amount of human suffering and huge amounts of material damage as well. We'll start by looking at the Israeli economy, which is difficultly weathering the storm. Its tech and weapons sectors continue to flourish, but the tourism, agriculture, and construction industries, which used to rely on Palestinian laborers on work permits, are struggling. Brian Quinn has the details.
In normal times, Jerusalem's old city would be bustling with tourists. Now, after a year of war in Gaza, it's nearly empty. Israelis who once made their living as tour guides have been forced to find new lines of work, if they can.
I lost 90, almost 100% of my income. The sector of tourism is the first to hurt and the last to return.
The war has battered Israel's tourism industry. The first half of 2024 brought just 500,000 visitors, a quarter of the number from the same period in 2023. Israel's overall economy was already struggling before the start of the war, weakened by mass protests against a controversial judicial overhaul pushed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. After October 7th, the country was hit with a severe labor shortage as army reservists were called up for the invasion that has devastated Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel revoked the work permits of some 130,000 Palestinians, dealing a heavy blow to the country's agriculture and construction industries, which rely on the subjugated population for cheap labor. Economic activity fell by 21% in the fourth quarter of last year. It rebounded by 14% in the following 3 months, but remained stagnant at 0.7% for the second quarter of 2024. The economic turmoil has worsened an ongoing struggle with the high cost of living for many Israelis. Food banks say they've seen demand for their help skyrocket.
We have a lot of families that their husband or the wife are in the reserves, so the family is more in need.
Israel's tech sector remains relatively insulated from the war, while its robust weapons industry has benefited. The country's debt, though, has been downgraded by all three main ratings agencies, who warn that a widening war will add significant economic risks.
Well, let's take a look now at the damage done on the Palestinian side, especially on the Gaza Strip, where Hamas is located. The material damage there has been immense, of course.
It'll take decades for the territory to recover from this because of what the UN has described as the unprecedented scale of destruction in the Gaza Strip. Israel's offensive on the territory has created 14 times as much debris than all the major conflicts in Gaza since 2008, according to UN satellite data. Over 46 million tons of debris created in the last year compared to just over 3 million tons in the 2008, 2014, and 2021 conflicts combined. Whenever the conflict reaches an end, rebuilding infrastructure won't even be the first step. Addressing the humanitarian needs of the population will be the priority, followed by the monumental task of clearing all the rubble of the war, which is estimated could take 15 years based off of averages from previous conflicts. Then rebuilding the 65% of structures in Gaza will be a generational challenge, with the UN estimating it could take 80 years to rebuild all the homes that have been destroyed.
What about economic activity?
Well, it's basically come to a standstill in Gaza and slowed down drastically in the West Bank. Palestinian Authority data comparing economic activity in both the West Bank and Gaza from the first quarter of 2023, so before the war, and the first quarter of 2024, so after the war, shows the slowdown. Looking at the Palestinian territories as a whole, GDP fell 35% over that time. Economic activity in the Gaza Strip fell 86%, while in the West Bank it slowed to 25%. Gaza's share of the Palestinian economy has also shrunk. It used to be 17% of the economy, now just 5%. Now, looking at particular sectors, agriculture has been severely damaged, as you can see there, making the humanitarian crisis worse. Wells and solar panels have been damaged, so have 63% of croplands in Gaza. This was a sector that provided 90% of informal employment to the population there before 2020. The economic activity that remains in the territory is black market trading of essential goods at exorbitant prices on account of high transportation costs and restrictions on imports imposed by Israel. This has driven inflation up 250% annually in August and pushed nearly 2 million people in a state of food insecurity.
Charles, thanks very much. Charles Pellegrin, that's summing up the business impacts of the conflict over the last year for us. Thanks very much.